coverage you can count on continues with Glenn Marini's Sports Report. Sports coverage you can count on.
Naturally, July 4th is a holiday every year, but for me personally, this one also marks an anniversary. 15 years ago, July 4th, 2008, I started working here at WANE-TV. Now, for a kid who grew up in Indiana, getting to cover sports in my home state, it's been a dream come true. Now, over that time, I've gotten to cover some amazing games, events, and most importantly, some amazing people. And while there's not time to go through all of them, I did have a chance to think about some of my favorite moments and memories. So, on the anniversary of my 15th year here at WANE-TV, here are my top 15 favorite stories that I've gotten to cover here in the Summit City. DeMarcus Beasley, National Soccer Hall of Famer, has a pretty good ring to it, don't you think?
Yeah, you said a lot.
Number 15, just a few months ago outside of Dallas, Texas, Fort Wayne's DeMarcus Beasley inducted into the National Soccer Hall of Fame, getting the chance to fly down and be a part of a crowning achievement for a guy who keeps coming back to his hometown to grow the sport of soccer. That was pretty cool. Number 14, Notre Dame versus Stanford, October 13th, 2012. Standing right at the goal line as Notre Dame stuffed Stanford to win in overtime 20-13. The Irish going on to finish undefeated in the regular season and play in the BCS title game. Number 13, not all stories have to be super serious, right? For a couple summers, I got to drive Tin Caps players to Parkview Field for our carpool conversation segment. The most talkative guy, no doubt, Fernando Tatis Jr. Who knew this guy was going to go on and sign a $350 million contract a few years later? And by the way, dude still owes me $8 for chicken empanadas. Number 12, the first story I ever did at WANE-TV was an interview with Bishop Dwenger Jr. Tyler Eifert after he committed to Notre Dame. After his career with the Irish, we were there at his house the night he was drafted in the first round by the Cincinnati Bengals, and the fact that I've covered him going from high school to college to the pros and retiring, that makes me feel pretty old. Number 11, Super Bowl 46 in Indy. I mean, it's the Super Bowl, right? Being on the field while Eli Manning celebrated, seeing a Super Bowl played in my home state of Indiana, that is a night to remember.
We are live! We're just seconds ago! The IPFW Mastodons took down the third-ranked team in the country!
Number 10, IPFW over IU. Fort Wayne sports fans will never forget that night, November 22nd, 2016, as the Dons took down third-ranked IU in OT at the Coliseum. Number 9, Rod Woodson's Hall of Fame induction. By all accounts, Woodson, the greatest athlete to come out of Fort Wayne, and in 2009, he took his rightful place in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Number 8, interviewing Jack Nicklaus, the Golden Bear in the 260. Yes, indeed. Nicklaus playing Sycamore Hills, of course, he designed for an event with longtime friend Tom Kelly, and a chance to interview perhaps the best golfer of all time. I'll take it. Number 7, the journey of Kevin Kiermaier. In the summer of 2010, Kiermaier drafted in the 31st round by the Rays. That day, I interviewed him for the first time in the Bishop Luers parking lot. Who knew his career would turn out like this, from the 941st pick into a 3-time Gold Glover? Amazing to see what this guy's been able to do through hard work and willpower. Number 6, behind the scenes at Wrigley Field. Sorry, Kevin, but maybe the most fun day I've ever had at work is courtesy of older brother Dan Kiermaier, who's now the head groundskeeper at Wrigley Field. Dan gave us a behind-the-scenes look at the world's most iconic baseball diamond for a story on Dan making it to the majors in his own way. Number 5, Caleb Swanigan on draft night. Hey, if you're talking big-time moments, none bigger than Biggie Swanigan getting drafted in the first round of the NBA draft by the Portland Trail Blazers. His rise from an overweight, homeless teen to an All-American at Purdue and a first-round draft pick, well, that story, an inspiration to all, but unfortunately a story that ended far too soon.
I'm scared because, I said you're ugly, so your game is going to be ugly.
Number 4, suiting up against the Harlem Globetrotters. As a member of the Washington Generals, I was much younger and skinnier, but not a whole lot better at basketball. I was 1 for 3 in the game for 2 points, a forgettable performance, but an unforgettable night.
Whatever the hell the highlight zone is, that's what we're talking about.
Speaking of nights, number 3, Bob Knight is a tough nut to crack, but he's always been gracious to me. gave me his cell number after emceeing a Boys and Girls Club event with him, then actually called back to set up this interview a few years later when I gave him a ring. For an Indiana kid, that meant the world. Number 2, Cubs reverse the curse and win the World Series. Yeah, a Game 7 with a rain delay and extra innings to break a 108-year-old drought. Well, if there was one sporting event in my life I would have wanted to be at, that was it. And I got the chance to go to Cleveland and see the Cubs make history.
I thought, if I'm still around after what I've been through, I mean, there's got to be a plan for me.
And that brings me to my number 1 memory of working at WANE-TV. The story of Austin Hatch. I mean, how do you put into words what it's been like to see this young man thrive after all he's been through? From covering him at Canterbury, to the second crash, to covering him in Los Angeles and at the University of Michigan, I've gotten a chance to see him firsthand go through more adversity than any person I know and come out smiling at the end.
Of course, there were a lot of great stories that got left out there, but I do appreciate you letting me into your living room the past 15 years and hope there are many more to come. I'm Glenn Marini, WANE 15 Sports.